God gave it to me.
It's my phone.
God gave it to me.
Back.
God gave it to me.
Give it
Oh,
back.
oh my God, America. She's got a knife. Ove, help, terrorist, anti-Semite. I was in the shop getting my bagels, just using my phone, and this Palestinian terrorist, 3 times my size, wielding a knife, came out of nowhere, broke my arm, tried to take the phone that God gave to me.
Allah Akbar! Allah Akbar!
Fireblood makes your piss yellow. Like a man. Manly yellow piss. None of that clear water, gay little girl piss. Man's piss. And the reason for that is very simple. We have all of the vitamins, minerals, and amino acids the body can need in one convenient scoop of Fireblood. And like a man, we have made it excessive. Are you the kind of person who's going to take a supplement which tastes disgusting with no flavoring whatsoever? Or are you the kind of man who takes a supplement that tastes like cookie crumble and your pee's not even yellow because there's only a little bit of vitamins in it? Oh, but I've only got my daily recommended allocation of vitamin B12. I'm scared I might pee out too many vitamins. Greta Thunberg will get mad at me for being wasteful. I don't want Greta to come into the gym and beat me up. Fucking gay.
Hey, don't Israel my glasses.
No. God gave them to me.
Those are mine. Give
God
them
said it's
back.
mine. God said it's mine.
Give us that.
Persecution! 6 million! Help me, America! Help me, America! Well, if I didn't do it, someone else would.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is gonna steal it. I was in the shop getting my bagels, just using my phone, and this Palestinian terrorist, 3 times my size, wielding a knife, came out of nowhere, broke my arm, tried to take the phone that God gave to me.
Allah Akbar! Allah Akbar!
Degenerate into something fool. We just got tired of doing what you told us to do. That's a brace, boy. Yeah, that's a brace, little man. Break it down. Degeneration up. Degeneration. You think you can tell me what to do? Know who you're talking to? Well, you better get used to the way the ball bounces. I see what you got, it measures in ounces. But that's a brace, boy. Yeah, that's a brace, little man. Break it down. Degeneration up. Degeneration. Think you're a big man? Treat you like you're a little man. Yeah. it down. Yo, tell me what it's like to be half a man. It must break your heart to see what I am, but that's a breaks, boy. Yeah, that's a breaks, little man. Break it down. Degeneration up. Degeneration. Think you could tell me what to do? Know who you're talking to? Just stop wanting me to be someone else. Put it away like a book on a shelf that you can't read, boy. Yeah, that you can't read, little man.
Want a casual dining experience that's as creepy as it is fun? We have an abductable, delectable selection of cheeses and sauces. And don't forget hot dogs. Featuring wholesome live music entertainment that's not at all hypnotic. Go balls deep on one of our many ping pong tables. Then come deep inside and see our newly renovated soundproof daycare. They'll be fine. Try our all-new Spirit Kitchen soups and salads. What the fuck is that? Don't let hunger get away with molesting your day. Pedos to pizza. Good times and creepy vibes, or we'll eat your kids free. You mean kids eat free? Yeah, what you said.
Right. What's up, guys? We are live. Welcome to the stream. Oh, man. We are here at unorthodox hours. You guys know I never go this early, but right now this is literally an emergency broadcast. I brought back a familiar friend, the people that everyone is scared of, right? The guy that everyone's scared of. Ryan Dawson, bro, welcome back to the show. I'm happy that we're able to bury the hatchet in the pursuit of further.
This was yesterday before the files came out, but it's exactly what I said it was going to be. All they did was they re-released the Palm Beach thing, which is 90% redacted, and then you had the little black book and some flight logs, all crap we already had, all stuff we knew. Pam Bondi and Patel made these promises before they got in office. Like, yeah, we're going to release it all. They even said the UFO file, which also doesn't exist, because they're dumb. Then they got in there and they realized, oh shit, this is all about Israel. We can't talk about this. So what did they do? They just released stuff we already had, and they had a bunch of Zionist influencers come in. This is like the private viewing of the October 7th movie that only a bunch of hardcore, grabs their ankles for Israel types got to see. And we'll just trust us, bro. Just trust us, bro. There's nothing there. There were no beheaded babies. There were no mass rapes. None of that happened. Oh, there was just the regular footage of October 7th that everybody saw. That's all it was. And these are just Epstein files that have already been released. And what they're going to do later, they're going to oh, don't worry, trust the plan. That's just phase one. Phase two is going to be re-releasing the files on the Maxwell trial on Maxwell and Epstein that we also already have, that are also full of redactions. And then they're like, oh my God, they deleted all the rest of the files. Who would have thunk? And that'll be the end of that. You're not going to get the list from the government. Okay. Anyway, let's play.
Truth and waking up more people. As you guys know, AG Pam Bondi went on Fox yesterday and said that the Epstein files are going to start being released. And she specifically mentioned, I think, the manifest, which I'm going to play that clip here in a little bit. But before I do that, I want to introduce Ryan Dawson, probably the best Jeffrey Epstein researcher in the world. He's been doing this for damn near 20 years. Ryan, without further ado, man, welcome back to the show. We're happy to have you. Can you introduce yourself to the people that aren't familiar with your work?
Well, 17 years I've been tracking Jeffrey Epstein. And I guess it got a lot of traction around 2019 when he got rearrested. The public finally got interested in this. And it's not just him. I've gone after other prominent pedophiles, Robert Miller, Peter Nygaard, for example. Mike Jeffries is another one. Unfortunately, those didn't get the traction that Epstein has or the attention. This one is a big deal. It was an international pedophile ring sponsored by the state of Israel. I think the public, they understand what it was, but they can't really back it up. And they're looking forward today. I hope it's not too much hopium for a release of the file. But like his client list is out. I have it in my hand. The flight logs has been out too. And it's a weird thing to me that people need an authoritative source to tell them something before it resonates. Like they need Tucker to say it, or they need somebody on the news to say it. You don't have to wait for the government to tell you who the clients are, because we had all these large court cases and you could go in and listen. The victims will tell you who raped them, and his employees will tell you who was in and out of the house. And you have, the internal emails between Jeffrey and his clients, and Maxwell and the clients. And you can compile a client list like that. But if you're lazy, you wait for someone else to do it. Well, I have released, I don't know how many times, hundreds of times since I've been back on Twitter. Here's the perverts. It doesn't matter. Lawsuits have happened. They've paid out over $400 million. Different banks and people like Leon Black and Prince Andrew in huge settlements. 16 million for Andrew, 62 million for Leon Black, 190 million for JP Morgan, 75 million for Deutsche Bank. Ongoing lawsuits, and some of his victims, they're still alive. They're on Twitter. You can talk to them. They'll tell you what happened. I don't know. But it's just not enough. They need Pam Bondi to go out and say the same thing we already know.
Yeah. So speaking of Pam Bondi, what I kind of wanted to do was show the audience, for those people that aren't kind of familiar with what's going on, quick little recap here. Basically, Trump has been saying since pretty much day one he was going to declassify the JFK, Epstein, and MLK files. There's been an enormous amount of pressure on the Department of Justice to make this happen.
And Robert Kennedy too.
Yep, and RFK. Anna Paulina, the Congress has been pressuring the Attorney General's office to do this. So, with all this pressure, especially on Twitter, because they've been really going after Paulina and AG Bondi, it seems as though she's releasing the first round. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to share screen with you guys and show you guys the interview she did yesterday on Fox News. So let me go ahead and share that just so people kind of get an idea. All right. I think everybody should be able to see that. You can see that, right, Ryan?
Yeah, Jesse Waters.
Yep. All right, let me play this clip just to bring everybody up to speed with what's going on here.
Information. Have I? If I haven't, congratulations.
Thank you. Only through text.
Okay,
so this
only
is the first
through
time
text.
in person. Thank you.
So, big cabinet meeting today. What happened that we don't know about when the cameras weren't rolling?
Once the hour-long press conference, they throw every question in the world at Donald Trump, and look how he answers. He's amazing, and he just keeps going and going and going, and he knows more than all of...
Oh, wait one sec. They said they can't see for some odd reason. Okay, I don't know why it's doing that, but let me do this. I think I know how to rectify
the media.
this. Sorry, guys. I'm going to move it. No, that's not it. You know what I'll do? I know what to do. I'll just screen share it. Bam. Okay, you guys should be able to see it now. Ryan, you might not see it, but I guess
I've heard it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just play it so the audience can see and hear.
Put together. And so then once they finally left, we got down to business, and we went around the room, and the president just basically asked a lot of us what was going on within our departments. And what you shared from Marco earlier is so true. We all have known each other, the majority of us, for so long, and we're friends, and that's what makes a difference. Jesse, we pick up the phone. We're on the phone with each other constantly, all of us, on every issue you've talked about already in your monologue, and others almost daily. We talk constantly at the cabinet level, and that's why we're getting things done so fast for Donald Trump and to make America great again. You know, I got to talk about today 2 big drug arrests that we made yesterday through the FBI, and I'm so happy I have Kash Patel in there, by the way, thank goodness. But we made a huge meth arrest, methamphetamine in Wyoming, hundreds of pounds of methamphetamine. Arkansas yesterday, 100 pounds of methamphetamine. Think how many people that can kill. And they lace that stuff, they lace the meth with fentanyl. So we're out there fighting every day to save lives, domestically and internationally.
One of the things a lot of people are wondering, because you said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk, is when can we see them and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims, 200. So we have well over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, you know, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released.
And just so you guys know, this interview led to like literally huge, it was a big movement in Twitter space. Everyone was talking about it all day. So that's why I felt the need to address this. But let me finish this out, then we'll get into what me and Ryan think she's going to actually expose. We're going to go over what she plans to do and kind of break it down for you guys. We'll finish playing this out.
By my office.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah. What you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information. But it's pretty sick what that man did.
Okay. Well,
along with his co-defendant.
Absolutely. And he had help. That's for sure.
He sure did.
We're hearing reports that there was an investigation opened into James Comey, who may have thrown honeypots at Donald Trump back in the 2015, 2016 years. Is that true?
Jesse, I don't know anything about what you're saying about James Comey right now.
Okay. That was a report.
Don't know anything about that.
That was a report that was cited in the Washington Times. I'll take it at that. We're hearing a lot about Doge.
Okay. I think you covered the Epstein part. So, Ryan, what are your thoughts on that, on what she said? And what do you predict?
Face? Yeah.
Has Doge...
Hold on, let me get
He asked her, are we going to see flight log? What about recordings? Because, first of all, yeah, he and his whole audience needs to understand it wasn't just the island. Like the basic Epstein noob thinks he had this private island where everything went down. He did have a private island nicknamed Little St. Jeffrey's, but he had multiple properties in the United States, in France, and a lot of this illegal activity happened in Florida, happened in New York, happened in New Mexico, happened in Paris, and happened in Ohio. They didn't all go to the island. And what a lot of people have done who think they've released the list, all they did was copy the little black book from Maxwell without any verification or anything, because every single person they knew was not guilty of child rape.
So, question real quick.
And they just lazily
Ryan,
copied that list and said, this is the list. That's not it.
This black book list that you're talking about, real quick, let's pretend that none of our audience knows Epstein background too much besides the fact that he was compromising people. What is this black book that you're talking about?
It's a little black book. So before the internet, you know, people used to write down addresses and phone numbers in a little black book. So I could have like Ryan's black book, you know, and any girl I met at the beach one week could be in my book or something. You don't really need black books anymore because you can save umpteen numbers on your phone anyway. But back in the day, in the 90s even, you would have a black book. So in that black book is not even up to date. You know, once cell phones come in, and that's possible, anything from say 2005 or so onward isn't in that book. And it's not that every acquaintance they ever met for any reason is guilty of a crime. And you cannot accuse somebody of something as horrendous as child rape or, you know, or regular prostitution of age, whatever, if you don't have evidence. And you can't just base it on, well, their names in the book, so they're guilty. The same thing with flight logs. First off, a lot of the rape was going on without ever having to go to the island or any Epstein property, because they sent the girls to hotels and you didn't have to fly anywhere. Okay. There's already flight logs released. There's already an unredacted little black book released too.
And real quick, I have the flight log right here, guys, if you want. Ryan, do you want me to pull it up now, or do you want to keep going on this?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, look at it. It's
Okay, let me pull
online
it up
right now. If that's what she releases today, that's already been out.
Okay, can you see it, Ryan?
Yeah, all right. So let me explain a little bit. This is like one page of, I don't even remember how many pages, hundreds of pages, but you can see the initial. So that JEGMSK, that's Jeffrey Epstein, Glenn Maxwell, and Sarah Kellen. But if you look right, and that's most, and then you look in the middle, JEGMSK, President Bill Clinton.
Hold on. For some odd reason, it's not showing up on. Okay, you know what? I think I know.
Well, they probably want to see this.
Yeah, let me hold on. Let me pull it. You know what I'm gonna do? Okay, because I'm trying to do it where you can see, where they can see it and you can see it, but for some odd reason.
Do it so they can see it.
Yeah, because you have it in front of you. Okay, let me just screen share it right now. Okay. All right, so I got it in front of me right here. So Ryan, what am I looking at here? I see a bunch of names, random, airports, initials.
So are they able to see it?
Yeah, now they can see it.
Okay, so what you're seeing?
I got you. What's up? My bad. Go ahead.
They got it. Okay, so from and to, there's just abbreviations. So JFK is JFK Airport, for example, and you see these initials. So if you look at he's got 13, 16, 19, 20, like that. So if you look at 96, JEGMSK.
Which row is this? Is this up top?
There's a bunch of them say the same thing. JEGMSK. That's Jeffrey Epstein, Glenn Maxwell, Sarah Kellen.
Okay, this is under the, so for those that are listening to this audio-wise, we have the manifest up, and in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th column, it says remarks, procedures, maneuvers, and endorsements. So we're looking at that list right there. So you're saying that that is basically like kind of the manifest for each trip.
Yeah, and the people who are on there all the time get initials. So gotcha. JE is Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay.
Glenn Maxwell, is GM. And Sarah Kellen, who was a recruiter, a victim and a recruiter, she was the secretary for massages. So she was all part of it. And she's gotten away with it too. But you see there always, the three of them are always together. And then you see on number 100, JEGMSK, President Bill Clinton. Now that's an important one. That's the president. Now you look at that VHHH, that's Hong Kong.
Okay.
And RJTA is an airport in Japan. So that is weird. Why is Clinton going to Hong Kong from Japan with Jeffrey Epstein and Glenn Maxwell?
And just so I'm sure here, are we looking at a row? Is it which row is this? Is 2019? Which one is this? It
says 22 and 100. So flight number 100.
Gotcha. Okay. So if everyone could pay attention real quick to row 22, if you go over to the right, you see a bunch of different initials there. Row 22, chat. But
the date, the date is 22.
Okay.
It's right in the middle.
Yeah.
But it's flight 100, but it's also flight 101, 102, 103, 104. It says same as above. Bill Clinton's on all those flights. So weird. Why is he going from Hong Kong?
Wow.
When they leave Hong Kong, right? And they go to ZGSZ. And all you have to do, if you don't know airports, which is fine, most people don't fly around everywhere, is just go to Google, put in those initials, and it'll tell you where they landed. It'll tell you where that is. It's not a problem.
Wow. So, okay.
But, and that reminds me of something, by the way. Two very important people are on their way to Florida. Both the Tate brothers were allowed to leave Romania.
Yep.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. No, that's crazy. But okay, so just so I make sure I understand this. So I'm looking here. So on the left, it has obviously date. And then I scroll down. It says 22. Move it over to the right. So JE is Epstein. GM is Ghislaine Maxwell. SK, you said, is one of their people that works with
Sarah Kellen.
Okay. Yes. And then the next one is PRC. Oh, President Bill Clinton. Boom. then is that MEX or?
It's hard to read.
Okay, do you know who that is right there?
It looks like Doug Bands, Jessica, and that's Jessica. What is that?
It looks like MEX something.
MEX or MELG. Yeah, what I did is I would end up finding the same name more clear, like on just further down the page or whatever, because some of it is pretty sloppy.
Okay,
but
no problem. That's amazing.
But, you know,
how
it doesn't matter because this is the handwritten one, and then we have it typed too, and it doesn't matter who flew around with them that much. I mean, it is a data point, so it doesn't mean nothing. It's hey, these people knew Epstein, they flew around with him. That's pretty dirty. But not everybody who knew him knew what he was doing, obviously. Yeah. And even if they did, they can always be like, I didn't know what he was doing. You got to have better evidence than that to nail someone. Now, if they go to the island, there's really no other reason to go to that island other than, well, you know. But, you know, Epstein's crimes did not just include the kiddie fiddling. He did a lot of white collar crime when he was at Bear Stearns, when he was at Tower Financial, that he did a lot of different scams in those businesses and Ponzi schemes too. So some of the people worked with him on that, which still makes them criminal, but it doesn't make them a rapist. And some of them did both. And so to parse that out, yes, you can look at the flight manifest and see who he knew and who flew around with him. Then you need to compare that with the court cases. The court cases are the most important because the girls who are still around, who got raped, who are willing to talk and not take a large settlement and hush money and shut up, will tell you who raped them. And so that's how you get a real list. And so will his employees. His employees, his drivers, his pilots, the chef, they can, you know, corroborate information. And by all accounts, Glenn Maxwell was worse than he was. They were both doing it.
Real quick.
Here's the client list right here. Does that show up?
Yeah. I'm gonna.
It's mapped out. It's on my wall. I've put it on a T-shirt. I don't know how else. Like it's free on Twitter right now. Like the first page is 88 names, and there's some big names. The problem is the public is obsessed not with justice but with drama. All they want is celebrity gossip. Is it Tom Hanks? Stuff like QAnon, like it's Tom Hanks, right? It's Leonardo DiCaprio, blah, blah, Stephen Hawking, blah, blah. No, it isn't. And I blame the media for this too, because what the media would do is they would say some title like Shocking Epstein File, Cameron Diaz, Stephen Hawkins, and Leo in the documents. And then if you actually read the article, you find out that none of them were involved. What happens is there are some names in the documents, but the context for Leonardo DiCaprio and Cameron Diaz went as follows. Jeffrey would be on the phone. He'd be like, oh, that was Cameron. Oh, that was Leo. And so they asked the victim, did you ever see Cameron Diaz or Leonardo DiCaprio at any of these dinner parties? No, I didn't. Okay, that's that. And the reference to Stephen Hawkins is an email in 2005, 5 or 15, I forget. But it's an email between Jeffrey and Glenn Maxwell where he is sarcastically saying, like, you know, I need anybody with any information that can discredit Virginia Giuffre, now Virginia Roberts, you know, for what she's saying. Like next they're going to say Stephen Hawkins was at an orgy. And that's obviously sardonic bull because Stephen Hawkins had severe ALS and couldn't even move out of a chair. It was his way of saying, like, you know, like, what's next? They're going to say Stephen Hawkins. Now, Epstein did target scientists. He would have loved to honey trap Stephen Hawkins. There's really not much that guy could have done.
Let me ask you this, Ryan. So real fast, I kind of gave an overview of how Epstein and his Ghislaine Maxwell would kind of procure their victims, infiltrate, then compromise. Can you kind of quickly go through the scheme of how Epstein was able to put these, you know, powerful individuals in a blackmailed position?
It wasn't that hard. Epstein did not create the pedophile ring. Epstein entered into a pre-existing network.
Okay.
Maxwell and her family have been working with the Israelis a long time, and they brought him in. They tried to do gray market weapon sales, and he wasn't very good at it. There was a story of Doug Leese and blah, blah, blah. But he found his niche in this sick shit because he was into it himself.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, like the ballerina build, it kind of flat chested, but not all the way, young, 13 to 14, blonde, whatever. That was his thing. And Maxwell was just obsessed with Epstein, and she would join in threesomes and rape him too. Well, they had different things. So some of the girls, they got straight out of modeling agencies because they had access to Les Wexner, who owned Victoria's Secrets and LL Brands and all that. And so some of the reject models they would pass down.
And Wexner was basically Epstein's main backer financially, correct? That's the guy that pretty much put the money behind him.
Well, the Wexner Foundation goes back to the Sanborn Institute and the theft of nuclear weapons. So
boom.
That's another big story. If you've seen Numek, you will already know that.
I've been telling everyone to watch it. It's a fantastic documentary.
It's free. It's on Rumble.
Yeah.
It's on Twitter somewhere, but
yeah.
You know,
so Wexner was tied in with those guys.
MEC, the Nuclear Material and Equipment Corporation, probably could have picked a better title, but it says Numek, you know, how the Israelis stole the bomb and killed JFK.
Okay.
So that's the whole title. But
so Wexner was tied to the
Wexner is he's kind of like the previous generation. He's in his 80s, you know, so that guy's been a scumbag his whole life. And that was the Israeli conduit to hire Jeffrey, you know, as a consultant or whatever. Like he's a super consultant for a billionaire and pay him. Sold him a house, like a mansion, like that used to be a school, for only $20,000.
So this is really important. Because for those that don't know, Epstein was a teacher, didn't have a college degree. So for him to become a billionaire all of a sudden was very strange. So what you're saying is Wexner is the guy that pretty much put the money behind him in return of him becoming an asset for Israel. Would that be fair to say?
In the beginning, that's how it was. He was able to squeeze money out of things like a Global Apollo from Leon Black because he had blackmail on all these prominent hedge fund managers. And so he could force them to donate to his causes, and they would go through a series of LLCs. So
do you want me to pull up the Leon Black
article?
Give him
money. They would give the money to Gratitude America, and then Gratitude America would give it to whatever, and then they would give that to Jeff. Things like that. We just the money would move around in circles.
Okay, so I have. You want me to? I got the Leon Black article right here, and the audience can see.
Oh yeah,
it.
You can pull up the lawsuit. Yeah. I think it was 62 or 62 and a half he had to pay.
Yep, I have it on screen right now. It says Leon Black agreed to pay $62.5 million to settle Epstein-related claims. The private equity mogul struck a deal with the U.S. Virgin Islands to avoid potential lawsuit over his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. So,
you know what? Everybody should thank Denise George for that. She lost her job for creating these lawsuits out of the Virgin Islands. Because separately, Leon Black was sued by some autistic girl he raped, and he was exonerated. Apparently, they paid her enough to make it go away. And that's usually what happened. But these banks were facilitating hush money. Darren Endike and some of Jeff's lawyers were continuing to pay victims to hold their NDA and keep their mouth shut after he died. They were still getting paid hush money.
Leon Black.
I talked to Maria Farmer and some of the other victims, and yeah, I mean, a lot of these girls, you have to understand. I'm going to say something nuanced that's going to piss people off, but that's, you know, I don't shy from pissing people off. 100% there were people who were groomed and driven into this and abused for years and raped and pimped out. All that happened. However, in addition to that, there were a shitload of girls that just did it for the money. Because they wanted easy money.
Of course.
There were actual prostitutes in the prostitution ring. I know that's shocking.
Yeah.
But there were. And a lot of those girls who chose to do that are the ones getting all the money.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's fucked up.
No, agreed. So Leon Black is one of the main guys. So just to go back everywhere and summarize this, because we're throwing out a lot, and I'm assuming, like, you know, the people that are watching me aren't necessarily as versed in the subject as me and you. So this guy's a math teacher, operates in, you know, obscurity for a lot of his life, gets linked up with Wexner. Wexner puts him in a position.
High school math teacher too.
Yeah. So he gets linked up with this Wexner guy. They become close. He backs him financially. Wexner has ties to Israeli intelligence, and he pretty much gets Epstein he turns him almost to like an Israeli asset. Would that be fair to say?
The Wexner Foundation has always been tied to Israeli intelligence, and Jeffrey Epstein was put on the board of trustees for the foundation.
Boom.
And they're financing Israeli prime ministers like Ehud Barak, who visited Jeffrey in New York, and it's on film.
So would it be fair to say, Ryan?
And he visited him in jail like a dozen times. What are you doing, Ehud? Yeah, what's up?
so let me get this straight, because everyone is so fixated on Epstein, right? No one, like, they're just so fixated on him. And anytime I go into space and I say he was Israeli intelligence, people say that I'm a fucking, tinfoil hat, blah, blah, blah. But what it seems to me from what you're saying, if you want to talk about Epstein, you can't not mention Wexner. And if you want to talk about Wexner, you have to talk about Israel and their intelligence capacity. Would that
and
be
Robert
fair?
Maxwell, and there's a bunch of different bridges back to Israel. It's not just Wexner, but the Wexner is the one that's not talked about the most. I think people,
let me pull him up on screen real quick for the audience.
People know about Robert Maxwell. I think that's in New Mexico too. Robert Maxwell was the whistleblower of Mordecai Vanunu, the guy that told on Israel for having an illegal nuclear weapons program and all these nuclear weapons that they created by stealing highly enriched uranium from the United States. Was Clint Maxwell's dad.
Yep, Robert Maxwell. Let me go ahead real quick and pull up, because I have talked about this guy Wexner before.
Oh, you asked earlier, like, how? Here's another thing.
Okay.
Glenn Maxwell, I call her Jiz Lane because that's funny. That's exactly what she was. She started a charity, Oceans Terramar, and that got her foot in the door to speak at the UN 9 times. So that means she got to go to little UN parties afterward and rub shoulders with all the people that go to the UN. Mm-hmm. So she has access to all those politicians under the guise of like, oh, we're here to clean the ocean, some unassailable good. Like, who wants to pollute the ocean besides the Philippines? Like, who wants to throw trash in the ocean? Nobody. So they're like, oh, what a good thing. An ocean's charity. We're going to be careful, because, it won't be long before the Israelis say God gave them the water and take the whole ocean. But she got to go in there, and that was her way to meet all the prominent heads involved with the United Nations. And that's how she gets in. She knew Tony Blair. She knew the princes. She knew Prince Andrew from Oxford already, but she would use her charities to get access to politicians. And Jeffrey would do the same thing. They would get access because one of the things they were doing was spying on U.S. science and technology to get research and development and trade secrets and give them to Israel. Mm-hmm. And so what they would do is they would target universities.
Gotcha.
And there were some politicians like on this list. You got Governor Bill Richards, you had Senator George Mitchell. I mean, they got compromised by Epstein, but mostly people have it wrong with like they were blackmailing Congress and blackmailing they went after presidents, but you don't need to blackmail Congress. All you have to do is blackmail the donor class, because the donor class already owns Congress. Mm-hmm. And Congress is interchangeable. You have to, if they get a new guy, then you got to get new dirt. Once you have the donor class, you already own Congress. Gotcha. AIPAC does a pretty damn good job. UDP and AIPAC already run everybody other than Thomas Massey, basically. But no, he went straight above them to the higher level, the big class, the hedge fund managers, the bankers, the movers and shakers. That's what they did. But by targeting universities, so let's say, hypothetically, that you force Bill Gates to donate millions of dollars, after he met with Selena Dubin late in the night at your house, to MIT through, let's say, Joyito, and let them know this money, it's from Epstein, which you can't accept because he'd already been arrested once, and then he got a sweetheart deal, but he was convicted of child prostitution, which is rape because children can't consent.
In Palm Beach.
Whatever. Yeah. And Barry Kersher got him that sweetheart deal because he's Israeli.
What's his name again?
By the Israelis.
What's his name again? Because what I'm doing here, Ryan, is as you're talking about people, I'm pulling them up so the audience can see. What was that
Barry
guy's name?
Kersher. It's the lawyer for sweetheart deal. You can Google that very easily. He's the main lawyer.
Kersher?
He was a Kersher. It's like See, Kichber, Kirschert.
And it's Barry, right?
Yeah.
Let me just pull him up real quick. Keep going. My bad.
Anyway, what he do is they can't accept the money from Epstein directly anymore, not because he's a piece of shit that rapes girls, but because it'll look bad because he's a piece of shit that rapes girls, and they don't want to take money because of how the public will see it. They don't care, but they can't do that. So they get money from his little conduit. So Bill Gates, just Bill Gates decided to donate to MIT. But they all knew that money is from Epstein. Why is Bill Gates donating on behalf of Epstein? It is Bill's money too. It's like, what are you doing? It wasn't like he just said, here, Bill, here's a few $1 million. Can you donate to MIT? I can't because it looks bad. No, he made Bill do it. And he let them know, I'm bossing around Bill Gates, at one time the richest man in the world. And I get to tell him what to do because he had him by the shorties. Bill Gates had many affairs on Melinda. He used to go to work. He had 2 cars. And so he would go to work in the car that he left his house with, and it would be there. And then he'd get in another car and leave with his with his mistress. But if his wife went by and saw his car in the parking lot, it looked like he was there and he was at work, but he wasn't. His Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, by the way, got busted with terabytes of child pornography from Microsoft employees, and some of these employees are also on this list. Like a lot of senior executives at Microsoft were roped in by Epstein. But anyway, back to the university. He's spying on the R&D at universities so they could steal trade secrets and give it to the Israelis. And so if you control donating, then the university is more than willing, even if they're partnered with a private company, which a lot of companies will do because universities get research grants from the state, so they get easy funding, whatever. It's like that line in Ghostbusters, I don't want to work in the private sector. They expect results. But it gives them a window into whatever they're coming up with. And the specific case of Microwire out of New Jersey, this company that developed this cutting edge military technology, and the Israelis got all of it. They got everything because they just stole it from the university private partnership. They had access. And they had access because they're prominent donors. That's another way that politicians' children get into school, like the Kushners going to Harvard, is from massive donations from Charles and his wife. But nothing new there. But in Ohio, it was really bad where they name things after.
And when you say the Kushners, you mean Trump's
that whole state.
Kushner. When you say Kushner, you mean the Kushner family that married into the Trump family, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They paid they bribed so their kids could go to Harvard.
Okay, so let me kind of go through this real quick because you threw a lot out there. So I'm going to kind of give an overview of how the scheme works, and then if you could just kind of fill in the gaps for me after I explain. So for those that are watching, yes, guys, we are live. I do see your super chats. Obviously, I want Ryan to get everything out that he can with this situation. So for those that are just joining the broadcast, welcome. I know it's early in the morning. You're not used to it. But anyway, we're here because AG Bondi said that she's going to go ahead and release the documents. She said something about a flight manifest. We showed you guys the flight manifest, one of them, with the names, how it's broken down. Bill Clinton was on it, which I'm going to ask you about that next, Ryan. But just to come back and summarize. So this is how the scheme works, guys. Ghislaine Maxwell
you can go on my Twitter right now and click through the link and look at the flight manifest all day if you want.
Okay, and I'm going to pull up your actual.
If that is what she releases, I'm going to be mad because that's been out. I still think it'll have an impact, even if it's redundant information, because for whatever reason, people need it to be on TV or on the monitor, or it doesn't exist because they don't fucking read.
Okay. Is it the manifest? Okay, I see the one that we're looking at. How far back do I scroll to see?
I can't see the screen. I still see the single page of the thing, but that...
Oh, I see it. You got a document
that
cloud
website
picture?
I gave you, it's just pages and pages and pages of flight logs.
Okay, hold on real quick. I think I have that here. It's the... Because I got here, documentcloud.org. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Okay, let me click. Yeah, I'll open it up on my screen right now.
I can pull it up on my phone.
Okay, so, oh, wow. Yeah, this is a lot of shit here.
It's huge. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and drop this in the chat for our audience to kind of peruse on their own. So, chat, I'm going to drop this for you guys. You guys all better go follow Ryan Liberty right fucking now.
I sat there with the notebook and went through that whole damn thing and cross-referenced it with the court files and stuff. I compiled a list. I did all this work. And they're just, where's the client list? And I just, okay.
So just to be clear, what we're looking at here, right? What we're looking at here, I see 118 fucking pages. We just went over one of the flight manifests, but you're saying there's literally hundreds of these things, and this doesn't even still constitute the real list. Would that be fair to say?
That's just one of the pilots.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. That's not even all. And they helicoptered people in too. Glenn Maxwell got a little pilot license. She bought a green helicopter because Jeffrey liked green. He had a green massage table too. And she would carry people from St. Thomas to Little St. Jeffrey's in her chopper.
Holy, okay. All right. All right. I'll come back
Like
to this.
I said, they're not getting all the people that just drove to a property. They're not in a plane. If you live in New York or you live in Florida, you could just drive there or get a taxi or whatever.
Okay, so let me go over their scheme first, and we're going to come back to this flight manifest, so this makes sense for the audience. So, guys, this is the breakdown right here. Obviously, failed math teacher has Ghislaine Maxwell, right? He gets backing from a guy named Lex Wexner, who I have on screen for you guys right now, so we could put faces to the names. This guy is the main money pusher behind Epstein and was the one that gave him this random billionaire status out of nowhere. He goes with Ghislaine Maxwell, who simultaneously, networking with politicians, powerful people at the UN on the guise of ocean preservation. Next thing you know, they're having after parties. So Lex Wexner, who also owns Victoria's Secret, gives them models to bring to these parties. They bring these of-age women to these parties. These famous and rich people say, wow, look at this couple. They're bringing hot girls, and this guy's a billionaire. Who is this guy? Hey,
if you have Naomi Campbell or someone famous, they're like, oh, this is legitimate. I know her. So I'll go to this thing. And, it's not that hard to get some 17-and-a-half-year-old, put 2 inches of makeup on her, make sure there's a lot of alcohol around, and somebody makes a mistake. You just had an underage, gotcha.
So
they do it.
They go to these parties, build social proof, then make friends, say, hey, you should come check out my island sometime. Hey, you should come to New Mexico. Hey, you should come to my, big house in New York or in West Palm Beach or in France or wherever. Because he had houses all over the place, chat. He didn't just live in New York City or West Palm Beach. He had a big-ass ranch in New Mexico. He had a crib in France. He had his own island. So he'd tell these rich...
the farm Paris Disney. Isn't that nasty?
That's crazy. So... So he leverages the people that Ghislaine Maxwell met and kind of networked with at these parties. He's there. He says, hey, come hang out. We got some drinks here. Come fly out. They come. There's plenty of women there when the person gets there, but what they don't know is some of those girls might be underage. They have sex, they hook up, whatever, and then bam. Epstein lets them know, Ghislaine Maxwell, we got you, right? And I'm assuming they probably didn't blackmail them right there, but like, hey, I might need a favor. Then that fast forwards to your Bill Gates example, where they compromise Bill Gates. He knows he's fucked. He knows he might get divorced from his wife. So they say, look, we're interested in technology. MIT is on the lead of this. I want you to donate money to MIT on my behalf. I'm going to get the access to that, whatever comes of that donation. And then he takes that information with that technology back to Israel. Would that be fair to say how the scheme works overall?
That is so far, and then I'm going to add a few things.
Please.
In addition to blackmail, the blackmail that I think everyone understands is, hey, do it or else. This will be leaked and it'll be revealed, and that you did this with this kid or whatever, or you had an extramarital affair or something will ruin your life. Everyone understands that. In addition to that type of blackmail, there's another type of blackmail, which you can think of like an insurance policy, where you have somebody who's ideologically in line. They're already a Zionist. They're already going to do what you want. But say, hey, to be in this club and to get the favors that we can provide, you're going to have to compromise yourself, because it's like insurance. It's like,
gotcha.
We know you can never turn away. And no problem. They want to have sex with kid anyway. So, and then the third type, and this is the worst. It wasn't just a service to ensnare people like, oh, this girl lied about her age and we caught you on film, whatever. It was a reward where they would service the guys for doing such a good job for Israel. You get to have sex with a bunch of teenagers.
So,
and guess which one was the majority of those three?
Which one?
The third one.
I'm sure.
That's nasty.
I'm sure. So we kind of went over the overview of how he was able to get in these powerful circles, what he did. Now, let me play devil's advocate, right? For the people that come in and say, well, you know, Ryan, you're just, you know, one of these tinfoil hat guys. You know, how can you prove he was Israeli intelligence? Sure, he might have got money from a guy named Lex Wexner. Sure, he had Victoria's Secret model women at these parties. Then he'd eventually build social proof and drag these guys back or, you know, lure them back. But like, isn't it a far stretch to say he's an intelligence asset? Well, maybe he's just a pedophile.
Charles Bronfman, Edgar Bronfman, the head of the Jewish World Congress, who himself, they were involved with another pedophile ring with Keith Raniere.
What are those names again? Just like you said.
The Bronfmans are the Canadian billionaires.
Mm-hmm. What's the first name?
Start with Samuel Bronfman back in the day, but Charles Bronfman and Edgar Bronfman Jr. And I have this whole thing mapped out, by the way. It's on my wall. If you go to antineocon.com, you can get that. You can get a poster. We put it on a shirt. We put it on a hoodie, because it's not just names. It's connections with one another and what's going on. How they stole NSO, the involvement with Khashoggi, Nexium, the Bronfmans, the Steinhardts, the Wexners. It's a giant Israeli cabal. It's not just this guy or something. And I agree, like, well, yeah, but that ain't the only data point. That's just one I've said so far. I did a 9.5-hour talk with Sean Atwood, not all at once. We did 9 pieces together. It's clear, crystal clear. The entire Maxwell family, not just Glenn, they're agents of Israel, always have been. And the way he got protection, the way it got covered up, they're not going to do that for a serial pedophile. They did it because of who he was with. And you still don't have this list, do you? You don't have this list. The only people they sort of know about are Prince Andrew, because who had to pay $16 million to Virginia Giuffre, Clinton, because he's in the manifests, and he had umpteen accusations of this while he was a governor and president, got popped, Monica Lewinsky.
Yep, and she's one of them.
I don't know if another name they would know, because they're not that, they're not that famous. Like some of the people from the pre-existing network, they had one in Brazil too, run by Ari Sher and George Steinberg. They got popped. Ari Sher just went back to Israel. I mean, the raping were going on at the Israeli consulate. That they got busted because in one of the pictures, this is a homosexual ring they were running with like 8 and 9-year-olds. They had a photograph with the Israeli consulate swimming pool in the background. And somebody noticed what that was and where it was, and that unraveled the whole case. But Steinberg got punished. He was just like some gay Hebrew language teacher or whatever. But Ari Sher, they just moved him to Australia, and the Aussies found out who he was. Said no way.
What's his name? Ari Sher.
Ari Sher. Yep.
Okay. I'm trying to. Okay, I probably got to Google him.
ARIESCHER. There won't be much about it on Google. And that was back in 2000, maybe 2001, something like that.
ARI and then SHERR or
ARIE.
Okay.
SHER. Dead to rights with George Steinberg convicted in Brazil, running a homosexual pedophile
ring. It's Ariel Sher.
Out of the Israeli consulate, got caught. It's in Spanish papers. Or it's in Portuguese, excuse me. Probably in both, because all of Latin America.
Is it Ariel Sharon? Is that who it is?
No, Ariel Sharon's the prime minister of Israel. He's also the piece of shit. This is Ari Sher.
Okay, he's not coming up.
But that's the thing. If you want to talk about Israeli prime ministers, Ehud Barak's involved in this. Ehud Omar's involved in this. And so was Perez, Shimon Peres.
Okay.
That's the no, and 3 Israeli prime ministers.
So let me ask you this. So this is a question that some people have given me, right? You got guys like Alan Dershowitz, Ehud Barak, these prominent figures from
Alan
Israel.
Dershowitz kept his underwear on.
Yeah,
that's what he said.
Exactly.
He changed his story. Because the first story was, well, did I get a massage at Wexner's property and while something else is going on in another room? I don't know. And I kept my underwear on, and I don't even like massages. Blah blah blah. Then, a few years later, he's like, I just got a neck and shoulder massage, and fully clothed. Well, hold on, your story is slowly starting, and my wife was there, and blah blah blah, and he's talking about being in Florida. Like, we're not asking, and maybe he did get a neck massage in Florida, but he's playing stupid. Like, oh, this incident, this is all that happened. And like, no, we're talking about in Ohio. Did you have a massage in your underwear? Because that's what you said. Now you're acting like that didn't happen. He's such a weasel.
So,
I think that, I don't know. I'm kind of believe him that he didn't sleep with Virginia Giuffre, because she wasn't sure whether that was him or what. That girl got raped by so many people. It's awful. But there's no fucking way that Alan Dershowitz didn't know what was going on going to Epstein property. Everybody that visited him with the topless women by the pools and all the rest of it, there's no way. And he is a serious... Ari Scher, and it's SCHER is his last name. I just put a link in chat if you're watching this on Rumble about the wanted Israeli diplomat flees Brazil. That's the title, BBC. Wanted Israeli diplomat flees Brazil. He's in a homosexual pedophile ring. And the Israelis hid him, as they do. If you're a pedophile and you're Jewish, you can just flee to Israel. But he already worked for the state. That guy worked in the Israeli consulate. He was a government employee of the Israelis. He engaged in a giant rape tourism scheme where they had pamphlets and everything advertising, here, fuck a little Latin kid or whatever. Fucking disgusting. As for Dershowitz, yes, he keeps changing his story. Mike Cernovich, by the way, sued an Epstein victim to get information that Dershowitz couldn't get himself, because Dershowitz needed to know what information Virginia had. Now, if he was completely actually innocent, then he would just know there's no way she has any intel because I didn't do it. But he didn't know that. He was worried. Oh, does she have a witness? Was this on tape? Does she have some way to prove this accusation? That's what he needed to know. And if it's just her word versus his, then he can go out and say, she's a liar, she's a prostitute, blah, blah, blah. But he was worried. That's why he had Cernovich act on his behalf. And who gets an Epstein file? Who gets the little binder with nothing in it, really, just except the old case is all redacted? Mike Cernovich. He's a bitch. Okay, continue. Real rapist defender, including Roman Polanski, who raped a 13-year-old boy and then fled to France. And all of Dershowitz's clients are rapists. Isn't that odd?
Yeah.
And he got a Guardian of Zion award and an award from the ADL. And it doesn't matter what... Okay, well, it does matter. I mean, it matters if you're a rapist or not. But he's such a piece of shit without that, with his absolute support of genocide of Palestinians. He doesn't even think of people, and the outrageous lies and support for barbarism his whole life. So fuck him.
So real quick for you, because I didn't want to interrupt you on the thing, but as you're speaking about all these people, I'm pulling up their pictures so the audience knows who you're talking about. But let me ask you this. People like Alan Dershowitz, Ehud Barak, etc., these are all very powerful Israelis that are Zionists. So one might ask,
Dershowitz is American. But,
no, yeah. I know, but he's a hardcore Zionist. So
absolutely.
Yeah, he's super pro-Israel. So, but my question is this:
he wrote a paper defending child pornography.
Oh wow!
And let me show you. This is a real psychopath, okay? Because there's someone that, like, they can't put themselves in someone else's shoes. They're completely devoid of empathy, you know. So, Yahweh followers.
So let me ask you this real fast.
He said, well, there's no, like, we're not actually having sex with the child. You're just looking at it. And so it's like, dude, what about the kid in the picture? Somebody has stripped the kid and taken their picture and humiliated this person. How do you think the child feels? But he can't put himself in the shoes of the child that it's happening to. He just like, well, if I want to look at that, or someone wants to look at that, it's just photos. Right? It's a photo of a person, you stupid fuck.
So, okay.
But that's the thing. He's not stupid, which means to come up with an opinion like that is because he's psychotic.
Okay.
Sorry. Fuck Alan Dershowitz, man.
Okay. Let me, because I got to get this question out. These people, a lot of them, pretty much all of them are hardcore. No, a lot of them are hardcore Zionists or Israelis. So this begs the question.
Or both, yeah.
If Epstein is really an Israeli asset, right, which I agree with you, he is, people might say, well, if he's an Israeli asset, why is he blackmailing or putting Zionists that are aligned with his mission on his list. Why is he doing that?
That's the number 3 one, like I explained. First of all, Zionists have internal conflict. Netanyahu doesn't like Ehud Barak. And so you have left-wing and right-wing Zionists. You have Labor and Likud. And Likud wants dirt on Labor, obviously. So if he can get you to go after their domestic rivals, then they have leverage to have the party they have now with total control.
So would it be fair to say that
it would be like if he was targeting a whole bunch of Democrats?
Okay.
And not Republicans. They're like, why would you do that? You're all American. Like, because those two groups don't agree on anything.
Okay. So not only was he an Israeli spy, but to be more specific, he was an Israeli spy for the Likud party.
Yeah, he was. They say, well, he seems to be friends with all these people in Ehud's party. I'm like, yeah, of course. He's sugaring them up because that's the whole point.
So
it's to ensnare them.
So if he did go after Israelis or Jewish Zionists, he would go after the more left-leaning ones versus the ones that are on the right, like Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yep.
Okay.
But he would. What he do though is
that's the key. All right.
He would start gigging. He got a kind of, I don't know, maybe a God complex, you could say, and this is why they threw him under the bus in the end, in my opinion, because he's totally replaceable, is he was like collecting names, collecting people. I got this person, this president. I got this. And he tried and, push his shit where he wasn't supposed to. And so they arrested him, jailed him, and they broke into prison and killed him.
Okay. So just so I understand this, because it seems like he's blackmailing all kinds of people, and I want the audience to understand. So he's blackmailing different types of people for different types of advantages that he could get. Maybe Bill Gates, so that he can get money sent to MIT on his behalf. He takes that technology, gives it to the Israeli government. And
I think the whole Bill Richardson thing was just to force the governor of New Mexico to change the zoning laws so he could build Zorro Ranch the way he wanted.
Okay, who's
that petty?
You said who? Bill Richardson?
He's the governor of New Mexico, and the Jeffrey wanted to have this property out there that you couldn't do, and he made it so he could.
Okay. All right. So he would blackmail pretty much everyone and use it as an insurance policy, whether he, liked you or he didn't, or he worked for you, didn't. He would still collect dirt on you just in case he needed it.
And that's not an uncommon thing. It's kind of like gangs do that too. They're like, shoot this person, prove you're not a cop, that kind of shit. That's a really crass example, but they want to know, if they want to make sure you're not in the DEA, you're not this, you're not that. It's like, well, if you're doing crime, then you've compromised yourself. But that is the way they can find trust, is to co-compromise.
Okay. So we kind of went over the scheme, some of the people that he's compromised, etc. We know how he does it, and we know the purpose he does it. So let me ask you this. Was there anyone that Epstein was actually loyal to?
There's a fourth way to get someone, and that's to blackmail their children or somebody important to them. Then you still own that person, even if that person didn't do anything.
Can you go over those 4 one more time for the audience? Because a lot of people are just tuning in now.
Straight up blackmail, I caught you fucking a kid, now I own you. Mm-hmm. That's the most basic. The second is an insurance policy. Like, you're going to do it, and you know it, but this is the way you can never leave the group.
Okay.
You've now compromised yourself. You have just giving rewards to people, which is so gross. Since you did what you were told, and you're such a hard Zionist, blah, 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 here's the threesome with some teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth way is kind of like the first way, but it's like, oh, I got dirt on your daughter or your son or someone you care about, and now I own you too.
Gotcha.
It comes out for them.
So he literally,
for example,
spied.
if they had something on Ivanka Trump, Donald Trump would have to listen to him, for example.
Gotcha. So it was all about power, no matter who you are. Even though he's an Israeli spy, he compromised everyone to ensure that he was protected.
He thought he was protected.
Gotcha.
And because he had William Burns and James Woolsey and Bill Clinton, so 2 CIA directors and a president, he was untouchable. And that's why when Maria Farmer went to the FBI all the way back in like 96, it didn't matter. It took until Trump was president for them to finally react and go get him. But Jeffrey was dipping into his own stash, getting too big for his britches and flaunting it around too much. He'd already been caught once. And so he is replaceable. And they made sure he couldn't plea bargain and he couldn't leave things back to Israel because they murdered him. And his number 3 person, the main person that procured models for him, because Wexner didn't do that himself. He just owned
it. Wasn't Ghislaine? It wasn't Ghislaine either that did it?
She sucked at it. She would go get runaways from trailer parks and stuff. So she did do it. And she even tried to farm Mar-a-Lago and got kicked out for doing that. But the guy that did it the best or the worst, however, Jean-Luc Brunel.
Okay, give me one second.
Had a modeling agency, Karen Models, straight out of Tel Aviv, and it had branches in Paris, Miami, New York, same places as the properties. And it's called MC Squared. They had to change the name.
Boom. I got him up on screen
MC2.
right now. A French guy, model recruiter. Wow. Okay. So,
and this guy would get this is like your passport blackmail. So they get a lot of girls from Eastern Europe and then fly them wherever and be like, well, you don't get your passport unless you do this and this. They'd coerce them that way. And what was sick is there are child models for children's clothing, 11, 12, 13-year-olds and that. He gave Epstein a set of twins. Some people say triplets, but it was a set of twin girls who were 12 years old as a birthday present.
Wow.
And Jean-Luc Brunel was also arrested while Trump was president. And they put him in jail in Paris, and he died in there. Allegedly all by himself. He killed himself.
So he also had a hold on, stop the show. All right. Just going back, because I really want everyone watching this to understand what you're explaining here, right? And you're going fast, and this is your wheelhouse. So I'll just kind of bring it back. So Epstein gets backed by Wexner. Wexner's the billionaire. He is the financial backing of Epstein. Epstein's with Ghislaine Maxwell. Maxwell helps him recruit women as well as establish social proof when he gets women to feel more comfortable with him. Jean-Luc Brunel is the guy that acquires the Victoria's Secret models that Wexner owns from Victoria's Secret.
MC2 models mostly.
Okay, so he brings those
Victoria's
models to the
Secret
parties.
models, there aren't that many of them. You're only talking about a couple dozen girls, and you're not getting them. But
so he would bring underage models too, underage and of age models, both. Jean-Luc Brunel. Okay.
Oh yeah. And then they would also recruit from. I don't want to get into child protective services, but they're pretty bad. And Epstein wanted young, skinny, blonde, English-speaking white girls, and that's harder to get. You can't just go get a ton out of Ukraine or whatever. By the way, Brunel's last modeling agency, Mother Plus One, was out of Kiev, Ukraine. It's still there. Anyway, the girls that Maxwell would recruit at country clubs and stuff like that, they tried to get rich people's kids, because here's another way of blackmailing other than getting your kid to sleep with somebody is to turn your daughter into a prostitute. Because, and that doesn't have to go to Epstein, because Maxwell wasn't just providing girls to Epstein, she was providing them to other pedophiles, and they would get passed around in the ring. It's really sick. So they could say, well, we have your daughter doing this. What do you think? And anyway,
was Brunel the third guy? If you were to look at
Brunel, if I was to say,
like, hierarchy wise, was he the third guy?
It's Epstein and Maxwell, and then it's Brunel. Yeah.
Wow. As
far as getting the girls and all that, yeah. As far as the white collar crime, no. I mean, the Steve Hoffenberg worked with Jeffrey. You had Jeff Staley work with Jeffrey. You had...
Who was the number 4 guy in this organization, in your opinion? So we got Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell at the top with Wexner. Then you got Jean-Luc Brunel, who's the guy that gets all the women, whether underage or of age, for these parties or island situations. Who would you say was the 4th from there?
I guess in importance, it would still be a money guy like Leon Black.
Okay.
Because, he's giving hundreds of millions of dollars to Epstein's operation. That's pretty much a big deal. One of his longest partners, too, is someone like Glenn Dubin, was important in the operation. These aren't the most important people he blackmailed, or Leon Botenstein is, that's 75,000 there, 150,000. It's hard to say because, like, what's more important, getting you girls or giving you money or what? If you're talking about the rape shit, it's 100% Jean-Luc Brunel was the guy, and he was involved in that. He would drug girls in Paris. He had two cohorts with him all the time, and they would knock him out and rape him in the limousine. Like, it's messed up, man. And this pisses me off. When Epstein got caught and they raided the New York property and they found the box of goods, the CDs, and that means the early stuff because it's not going to be on CD.
Oh, this is back in his first West Palm Beach case when the state arrested him, right?
Yeah, but in New York, they confiscated a box of CDs because you couldn't just put it on a thumb drive. You had to record on CDs.
Wait,
back
hold
in the
on.
90s, right?
Just so I make sure I understand this, because the audience doesn't know this or might not know. So Epstein was arrested in West Palm Beach in the early 2000s. He ends up getting a sweetheart.
Oh, no, I mean when he got arrested again. In
2019.
So, yeah.
In 2019.
When they raided his New York property in 2019.
FBI.
Yeah, that time.
FBI, not the state this time. 2019.
He still had old stuff in his safe, like boxes of CDs of AV, adult video, but they're not adults. We're never going to see the contents on that. That would, if Pam Bondi showed that and they, blurted out or something, that it's over.
Okay, so
I just don't see that happening.
Let me make sure. Okay, so just so I'm explicit here, because this is actually one of the things people wanted to see. What did the FBI uncover when they searched his house back in 2019 before he was arrested? Because for those that don't know, guys, and let me build the thing for them here.
Boxes of recordings, yeah.
Let me build this for the audience real fast. So, guys, Epstein had been doing this stuff since the 80s, 90s, whatever, right? They finally started getting onto him somewhere in the early 2000s, right? The FBI declined to prosecute because the United States attorney at the time was a guy named Acosta, and he was told to stand down specifically because Epstein was intelligence, right? So he didn't prosecute him. But with that said, the state said, fuck it. They went after him anyway and arrested him on, a bunch of prostitution, underage, sex charges, whatever. He gets charged for this, and he gets a sweetheart deal like we described earlier from this prosecutor named... What was his name again?
Barry Kirschner, and he gets 6 days a week on work leave. So he's just spending Sunday night in jail.
Yep.
And then he goes back to Florida, and all these weird people are visiting him while he's in jail. And you got to think, if he's only in jail one day a week, and somebody visits him, 12 times.
Yep.
That means months have gone by.
So I got a picture of him on the
visitors.
I got a picture of him here on the screen. So this guy literally, even though he was the prosecutor, he was responsible for bringing Epstein to justice. This guy, who's a Zionist, said, you know what? We're going to give him the sweetheart deal. Let him get out. He ends up nothing happening, right? It wasn't until 2019 that the FBI finally arrested him and did a search warrant, because the FBI had information on him, chat, but they never actually went after him until 2019. So when they went after him,
it's worse than that. It's worse than that because all these people involved in his ring back then got immunity.
Oh,
so Sarah Kellen, for example, who's flying around with him later, we got immunity. All these people
how'd she
got
get immunity? How'd she get it?
Everyone got it. They got him with one charge of one girl, and thank goodness for that girl's parents and everything. But that's all. And, it was so much worse than that. Hundreds of girls were involved in this, plural, hundreds. And they got him with that dinky charge, and he got out and he went right back to his old network. Few people, were like, F this guy, whatever. But a lot of them, they just said, well, we just got to do it in a more secret way.
Okay.
And he had such rapport with some of these people that many times when, let's say, Jess Staley or one of these people were, engaged in underage sex at his house, Jeffrey wouldn't even be there.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd be like, go to the house. She's right there, but I'm not even going to be at home. So he started making sure he wasn't even near the property while it was going on, but he would allow his friends to just go in his house,
So Sarah Kellen, would it be fair to say Sarah Kellen was like his fourth in command here? So it goes Epstein, Ghislaine.
She was like a secretary that, scheduled the massages.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeffrey would get massage multiple times a day. They did call actual masseuse sometime for a real massage,
Okay.
But in mixed in with that would be, oh, we have girl number 1 today from this high school.
Oh, okay. You know what?
And-
Let me real fast, Ryan, because I just realized. Okay, so guys, what I described to you was a scheme on how he would get the underage, how he would get people to come to his home. But let's talk real quick about how he got
his main thing is after he got a girl, he would say, if you will get one of your friends to come over and do the same thing,
and these are all
we'll
high
pay
school
you
girls,
even more
chat.
money.
By the way, just so you guys know, these are all high school.
less,
Yeah.
Or more young than that. And so, they'll say, hey, I know this guy, like, you want to make $200? All you got to do is go to this rich dude's house and give him a massage. He's going to jerk off in front of you. It's $200, And little kids don't make good decisions. You're like, okay. And they go,
Yeah, they're in high school.
and that's
and
all I
shit.
got to do is rub his back and da-da-da-da. And Glenn would be there and help them, kind of ease them into it. And maybe it was only a massage 1 or 2 times. And then maybe it's a massage, but oh, look, he's nude. Oops, the towel fell off. It would slowly escalate up and up. Then he would usually jerk off in front of the girls, but he got off on them seeing him jerk off.
Mm-hmm.
And then he would be like, why don't you take everything off but your panties or whatever, and how about you a little closer and let me touch your panty? It would just like a little bit. And they kept getting paid, and they felt like trapped because they'd already taken the money a few times, and like, well, if I leave, then I just did this for nothing. It's this dumb thing, but they don't have foresight, is their kids, and they get stuck in this, and then they start saying, I better do it because like, this guy, I'm looking around this house and he's got pictures with the President Clinton and Bill Gates and all these famous people. If I say something to the police, he's gonna bury me. And they weren't wrong.
Yeah.
So like once they were in that bathroom or wherever they were doing it the day, they were toast. Take your clothes off. And Glenn would be behind them, the girl, and she started taking her clothes off. She started undressing the girl. Like, what's she gonna do? Like, fight with her and run out of the house half naked? Sometimes it would. Now, if the girl did that, it didn't turn out too well for her either. They throw her out in her own yard nude, like, you little slut. Blah.
So, chat, because I have this up on screen right now. So, chat, what he's describing is how Epstein kind of first started out this, this pedo ring, right? It started in West Palm Beach with him simply recruiting high school girls saying, hey, look, give me a massage, $200, $300 here. You got a friend that could do it. And then boom, these high school girls started recruiting other girls. Before you know it, he has 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 girls, all from like West Palm Beach High or, some Christian school.
Because there was no Instagram back then.
Yeah, no Instagram.
Now,
no
if you wanted to do that, it'd be so easy. You could go on Instawhore, you could rent some gold diggers, done.
So
this is pre-internet.
But real quick, just so they understand. So the scheme was this, guys. Okay, we described the scheme on how he would get people to be compromised. Let's describe the scheme on how he actually procured the underage girls. So he would use Ghislaine. He would, figure out, girls living in the area in West Palm Beach. He'd get them to come to the house, give them a massage, whatever. They get paid $200, $300. This is back in like the early 2000s, guys. So like we're talking about like $1,000 in today's dollars for a teenager. So he says, hey, look, you have any other friends that you go to school with? Can you bring them by? Blah blah. She brings other friends. Next thing you know, he has 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 girls working for him, giving massages. Then those people that he compromised at these parties, like I told you guys about before, like with Ghislaine Maxwell and, doing this whole Save the Ocean crap, he'd bring them to their house. Sometimes he'd even leave. Next thing you know, this guy that thinks, Epstein's so cool and has girls, this girl's giving him a massage. He doesn't know she's 15 years old, or maybe he does, it depends on the situation. Next thing you know, bam, they're compromised. And keep in mind, guys, Epstein kept cameras in his house everywhere. So the person might not even know that he's recording these situations, and these individuals are getting like tuck jobs, whatever.
Cops install a hidden camera for him.
Wow.
He said his house had been robbed, and so he needed some incognito camera setup. So the police did it for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dad, this is West Palm Beach.
I don't know how to do this, and so they
this
did.
was in Palm Beach,
and I was robbed. I was stolen from. And they went in and did it. Of course, he bribed the police department through his LLCs, hundreds of thousands of dollars to cops, and they would call and warn him. So, because sometimes the girls would go home and they'd tell their parents or their grandma or whatever, and they would get the cops and they would go, but he would be forewarned. And this is verified by his bodyguards and his staff that work for him. Even said this. This is how we know. And so, hey, get rid of all the whatever, cops are coming. Cops would go. There's nothing there. There's no titties on the wall or anything like there usually was. And yeah.
Wow. So
That's what made them really disheartened, is because, like, why didn't these girls go to the police? They did. Why did they go to the FBI? They did. Why did they did? They did try to tell
This
them.
is true.
And it didn't matter.
Yeah. Because the FBI, the USA, had his hands tied, and then the West Palm Beach Police Department, was compromised. And right now, guys, what you see on screen, I did a whole episode on this that covers how Epstein kind of did this in the early 2000s and got the ring built up. Because first he had to build up the sex ring. Then he brought these powerful people to the sex ring that he brought up through, the bribery with the massages, $200, $300, $400 whatever. And I go into detail here, guys. I'll drop the link for you, but that's a whole other conversation. So going back to the FBI raiding his house in 2019, they find a bunch of stuff, right? He gets put in jail. And this is interesting that you said this.
That's what people want released.
Okay.
It's on those CDs.
Would it be fair to say?
Oh, and there, when in Maxwell's trial, when Sergeant Dawson was supposed to testify, the last thing he's supposed to say, he's supposed to come in and talk about a box of items, which you fucking know is recordings. And they didn't, they're like, oh, we're not going to make him come all the way back up here from Florida just for one more thing. So they just didn't do it. Isn't that amazing?
No, that's absolutely crazy.
No relation to me either. It just happened to have the same last name.
Okay. So, I don't know if my screen froze here. Let me fix it.
That is like, it's such a cover up. And what people want, what Jesse Waters was asking for is, hey, where are the recordings? Like, you're in Tel Aviv, dipshit. But he's like, where's the recording? Because the FBI got here's a great. They had a box, and it disappeared for 2 days.
from the 2019 raid.
And then Indike and Khan bring it back. Oh, here it is. Oh, I'm sure that wasn't switched out. Like,
okay, hold on. Let's go through this. So FBI does the raid in 2019.
Fuck do you get like the biggest pedophile in history, really? And you've got a box of evidence. It's labeled with adult video and names and stuff. And oh, we lost it. Oh, here it is again. I'm sure it hasn't been tampered with.
And you're saying the agent that found it, what was his name?
It wasn't, the lawyers like took it, and then they go, "Oh, you need this," and they brought it back. Like,
Epstein's lawyers. Epstein's lawyers. Yeah. What?
Darren Indike and Richard Cohn.
Wow.
And it's like, that is what I call, it's like the Trump shooter, intentional incompetence. You can Israel that term if you want. It's intentional incompetence. Stupidity is the plausible deniability.
Okay.
Because there's just no way. And it's just like the jail. Oh, the cameras failed. Oh, his roommate was moved out that day and he was taken off suicide watch right after he signed the 1953 trust. Oh, the guards are asleep. All these coincidences happen, and that's exactly when he decided to hang himself and somehow break a bone in his neck. And bullshit.
Okay, so this is crazy. Okay,
he got Clintoned.
Yeah. So the evidence goes missing, right? And we presume that's the tapes and some of the most critical stuff, right? That never came out.
Well, they brought it back, but how do you know that's the same stuff in the box that they brought back?
Wow.
You don't.
So let's go into because I find it interesting that Luke Burnell, his number 2 guy with getting girls, gets killed in a mysterious way, just like Epstein did. Everyone.
So a little different. So in Paris, it wasn't like the cameras didn't work. There were no cameras. But
okay.
It's a lot easier if you don't have cameras, then you don't have to make them fail, right?
Okay.
So it's not as bad. The French did a better job
at covering it up.
Yeah, because he didn't have a cellmate and they didn't have cameras. So he just hung himself one day.
Okay.
Man,
so
this is a guy, because they got him before they got Maxwell. So this is the dude. This is what you need. And then he's dead. And I was so frustrated. Like, oh God, they're just going to kill them all. And I thought
how is Maxwell still alive?
They can do this 3 times, because you can't do it 3 times in a row.
Okay.
But half the people don't even know about Jean-Luc Brunel at all.
Okay.
All these people think no one got arrested, no one got sued, no one knows anything. That's not true. Do you have those? the graphics of all the lawsuits I was showing you, like they paid out the nose on this.
Yeah.
They absolutely have victims, and they have the thing is, and Pam Bondi's right about this. You do have to protect the victim's identity. And I have not said any of the victims' names other than victims who have already
come
made them
forward
public, like Virginia Roberts and Maria Farmer and so on. But I have talked to victims. I actually talked to victim before he got arrested the second time, and the story was so crazy. I didn't 100% believe her. I mean, like, I believe she thought it was real, but I was like, oh, really? An island? You know, it just sounded like Alex Jones or something. But it was all real. And I'm not going to say that person's name, but I'm not going to say it on air. If you want to know in confidence, I can tell you. But like, I have interviewed these people, met them. This shit was going on.
So that's how you know so much. You actually talked to the victims.
That area of Florida has a lot of that going on.
Okay.
Badly.
For the audience members that are wondering, because I'm sure a lot of them are in the chat, like, how does Ryan know this stuff? So you know this stuff because you literally, how many witnesses would you say you talked to on this case, Epstein?
I don't know. I read reports more than I talked to them in person.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
But it's because all this came out and then afterward I go and verify it. I asked them, see if I can get any extra information or whatever, but I should not be the one that has to do this.
Yeah.
I didn't get paid to do this.
Yeah.
I just did it because it's the right thing to do. I'm sticking my neck out because what if I'm wrong and then I'm in trouble? It's like, okay, I didn't get that with Robert Miller either. I didn't get that with Peter Nygaard, who I met in LA and I didn't know it because you're in a steam room. And you can't just say, oh, you kind of look like this person, whatever. That's a funny story, but he's in jail. Miller's in jail. Keith Rainier's in jail. I did not work. I kind of worked on the Nexium Code, but other people solved that one. That wasn't me. But these characters pop up now and then, and I'm pretty good at understanding rapists, psychopaths, human traffickers. I know the MO. There is a profile, you could say. I mean, you worked at DHS, right?
Yeah.
And that's why when they accused the Tate brothers, no, that doesn't fit the profile at all. Where's the evidence? Don't just show me outrageous stuff said in a YouTube video about feminists or something. Like, where's the evidence? There wasn't any.
Okay.
And I approached the other side, like, what do you got? What do you got? What do you got about human trafficking and rape? You don't have shit. And so you're, you're punishing innocent men. I think that's just about over, though. So.
Okay. So let me ask you this.
Just
then.
putting that out there, and the same thing with
hold on, Ryan, hold on.
Kavanaugh, Matt Gaetz.
Hold on,
Russell
just so we can stay
Brand.
focused
There's
here.
a bunch of people falsely accused. So just because a girl has a horrible story doesn't mean it's true. But it doesn't mean it isn't either. You got to get the evidence.
Okay. So we kind of know how he did this with, like, compromising powerful people, etc. The flight logs. Did you want to go through any of the flight logs here in this thing? Anything of main interest to you? Because I have the document cloud thing up here.
Yeah, I mean it's 180 pages of stuff. Like this, this is the more important thing. Like these are the ones. These are his main people. This and this. This one's in pencil, so it might not show up. But these are the people, and I've released it.
Who would you say
see
the
what
top,
Pam does?
Can we go through the top 10? Who would you say are the top 10? And who do you think is going to be revealed on that manifest if the DOJ puts it out in entirety? Like you kind of like, who are the top?
Would
10?
I like to get revealed, or who do I think?
Who do you think is gonna, and then who do you think needs to be? We could do it that way. Top 10 that is you think is gonna get revealed, and then top 10 you think need to be revealed, and the government probably won't.
I think the ones that it'd be okay to reveal because you can already figure that out from court cases and stuff anyway, like Jess Staley, and Leon Black. I'd like them to get Glenn Dubin because he did it the longest. Robert Kraft, Jamie Dimon.
Hold on, I'm literally pulling up these people. Robert Kraft,
Reed Hoffman. Some of them are dead. Like Thomas H. Lee is dead. Steve Hoffenberg is dead. He engaged in white collar crime. He was not a rapist, but he still stole money. Yeah, Gardner P. Dunnan's dead. So
Hold on, I'm going.
Mark Rich is dead. Pink is Green is dead. So these people have died. Clinton would be a big one.
Yeah,
obviously.
I put him up.
And Ehud Barak would be a good one. I mean, former Prime Minister of Israel. That would make my day.
Oh, so
if it was only him, I'd be okay. You know, like that would be enough.
Okay, so let's go through with Ehud Barak real quick. Like, has this one been publicly released outside of you releasing it, or is this you think going to be one of the ones that the government might try to hide? What's your thoughts on this? I mean,
other people have released that. That's
okay.
It's in. I'm sure Miami Herald covered, Vanity Fair probably covered it. Regular newspapers, I mean, The Guardian, whatever. I think this story about him meeting at the rape mansion in New York, minimal, just shows they're in contact. He's got a former Israeli prime minister going to his house full of, underage girls, and he's trying to be all like secretive about it, wears a big like furry hat and stuff. But they all know, because anytime Ehud goes to New York, he's got all these security and limousines and stuff. So everybody knows when they see a bunch of black SUVs that there's a politician or somebody.
Yeah.
Stupid to have a costume when you come in with this entourage, dumbass. But
so let's go through it again. So you got Ehud Barak. You mentioned, I got here Thomas H. Lee, Robert Kraft. Who else?
Well, Jamie Dimon would be big. Jess Staley would be big. Glenn Dubin would be big.
Okay, hold on.
Those would be big.
Hold on, I'm pulling them up as we speak. CEO Morgan Chase.
Bill Gates, man.
Okay.
That would be huge.
All right, Jamie Dimon. Who was the other one? After Jamie Dimon?
Bill Gates is the big one, man.
I got him. I already put him up. Who else?
James Staley.
James Staley. Okay.
The one that liked to dress up little girls like Disney princesses.
He's an actor?
He's in an email talking about it like, how'd you like Snow White?
Is he an actor?
No, he worked at Barclays, man. He's a banker. It's like he wanted to just.
I can't find him.
Fetish.
How do you spell his last name? James what? Staley?
Staley, yeah.
How do you spell it?
Staley.
Okay, I spelled it that way.
He's suffering, man, because I think he's one of the guys. Because Epstein had age hookers too, so maybe the Disney princesses were 20 or 19. Not that that's okay either.
Jess Staley. I thought you said James Staley.
Jess, okay. It is. Well, his name is James, but they call him Jess.
Gotcha. Okay.
He banged Snow White, and then they asked him like which princess he wanted next, and he said, "How about Beauty and the Beast? Her name is Belle. But how about Beauty and the Beast?" And Epstein's like, "Oh, I can provide the beauty, but not the beast." Dad joke. Disgusting.
Okay, I'm going through right now. I
have no sympathy for these fucks either. Like, I didn't know how old she was. Like, did you know you were paying for sex?
Let me go through what I have here on screen. The people that were on his list, right? Just because I know people are listening in. We got a lot of viewers. They're obviously eager to see this. So,
yeah, I noticed like he's just half listening to what I'm saying as he's looking stuff up online. Why isn't a staff member looking stuff up online while he just pays attention to what I'm saying? He's doing it all, which is weird. Like Fresh could be doing that or something. This is why I interrupt. I'm like, you're not even listening. I'm telling you stuff and you're just like obsessed with finding their face. Anyone listening to the show can Google these on their own anyway, but I don't know. The public just doesn't care about anything other than the drama. It doesn't matter who the top 10, top 5, whatever. They're all guilty. They all belong in prison. It's not going to happen. They've gotten what they've gotten. And they did damage control. They gave huge immunity in the first trial. Glenn Maxwell's not saying anything. The FBI's in on it. They're not going to tell them themselves. We've gotten as far as we're going to get with this. They're not going to do arrest. They're going to say the files are deleted. They're going to have some kind of excuse. That's where we're headed.
We got Lex Wexner. We got Ghislaine Maxwell's aide. We got Prince Andrew, obviously. Bill Gates. Melinda didn't count, but they compromised him. Kushner was not in there, right? You said one of the Kushners.
Melinda didn't do that, but the Bill and Melinda Gates foundations separate from this, had employees with treasure troves worth of child pornography at Microsoft offices at work.
Okay.
That's pretty bad.
Then we got Bill Clinton. Then we got Ehud Barak. Then we got Alan Dershowitz. Then we got Virginia Dufresne, Roman Polanski, Bill Richardson, Jean-Luc Brunel.
Well, Virginia's a victim.
Oh, yeah. She's the one that banged Prince Harry.
Polanski was a rapist, but he wasn't in Epstein. He was just someone defended by Dershowitz. He was a homosexual rapist.
Dershowitz?
No, well, no. Dershowitz defended Roman Polanski. Roman Polanski was a homosexual rapist.
Gotcha.
But that's not part of Epstein other than, well, he did know Brunel, so that is weird, but he did that rape on his own. Like, that was independent. But he's in with all this filth. And Dershowitz routinely is defending one rapist after another.
Okay.
Which a lawyer has the right to do. Like, hey, they say they didn't, and I have to defend them. That's my job, whatever. It's just odd that you always choose defending people raping children, too. Not just raping, but raping children.
Yeah.
The only rapist that allegedly raped adults who he defended was Mike Tyson.
Okay.
And even Tyson, but the girl that he got accused of, he's like, I didn't do that, but I had done other stuff, so he didn't mind going to jail, whatever. But
all right, so we got
Tyson's an interesting guy. He had some problems back in the day.
So Dershowitz was the he defended people. I got Roman Polanski here. I got Jean-Luc Brunel.
He also defended child pornography. He wrote an article about it. He's sick, man.
Then I got Leon Black. I got Glenn Dubin. I got here Sarah
Leon
Kellen.
Black helped finance Epstein, and Glenn Dubin married Epstein's former girlfriend and roped their kid into this shit. Go on.
And then I got here, so Sarah Kellen, I got Robert Kraft, then I got Thomas H. Lee, then I got
Jamie. Who shot himself, allegedly.
Okay. Wait, he's dead?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, he died in 2023. Wow. Okay. Now I got Jamie Dimon, and I got Jess Staley. Anyone else you think?
There's a lot, dude. And again, some of these people are involved in the Ponzi schemes he did, and some of them are involved in rape, and some of them are only involved in the Ponzi scheme because he had leverage over them.
Okay, so not all. So would it be fair to say that? So are all these guys sexual predators, or are they just some of them financiers, money launderers? What's kind of the deal with all these guys? Are they all pedos or no? In your opinion,
most of them both. If you look up articles about, say, Bear Stearns, for example, prior to Jeffrey's existence, even, that every female employee there complains about power harassment, or their boss would just like change clothes in front of them. And it was just the way Wall Street is, the way some of these financial institutions are. It's like, oh, a little woman, like, go get the coffee. And they just treated them as sex objects, because just about every woman's at that level, the way she got to the power level she was at was from sleeping with guys.
Okay.
So they just assume all these chicks are gold digging hookers, and we're going to treat them as such. It's a horrible environment to be in if you're not a gold digging hooker, which some women weren't. And so it was just like, it's not something Epstein had to trick them into doing or whatever. These people are filth already, and they get that way. Some guys, when they make a lot of money, are so used to paying for sex that they get this warped view of women as just a hole you can buy or whatever. And so when they go to these parties and stuff and they meet these girls, they just assume that's what they are.
Okay.
How else did they even get in here? That's sick, dude.
Okay.
I got to bounce soon, dude. I'm getting
Yeah. No worries, man.
Because I'm supposed to be doing a deadline on a movie. So.
No. You're good. You're good, bro. So I'm going to just kind of go through the chats. We'll close this thing out. Reasser says, guys, get your questions in now if you want. We kind of went over the top 10. And we'll close out here in a second. He says, ask Ryan about what was Trump's relationship to Epstein. Was he compromised?
He hated him.
Okay. Zionist says, to all the Christ. Okay, this dude, brother, talking the shit. Elf to your admins, Myron, talking shit about Ryan. Get the fuck out of here. Okay. And then Chino781, subscribe. Shout out to you, bro. Appreciate that. So, okay. What do you predict is going to be the future of this declassification? What do you think they're not going to tell us? What should the American people be looking for? Kind of What do you think she's going to reveal tomorrow? Well, technically
I
later
highly
today.
doubt they'll go through Les Wexner or the Maxwell or anything that goes back to Israel.
Okay.
I think they're going to release some flight logs, and I would say we already have those.
Yep.
But 99% of people haven't saw them because they don't read, so it'll be new information.
Chat, I'm giving you guys the flight logs right fucking now. I don't want to hear nothing about, what's going on here. But keep in mind, and
like, oh, look at all these people who flew with him. And we already fucking know this, man.
But hold on, Ryan.
This reminds me of the 28
this is really
pages
important
for the joint inquiry Senate investigation.
This is very
September 11th. Already had all that information out, and then they released it, and it was verbatim what I said it was going to be. I'm like, yeah, you could have gathered that on your own, but you're too lazy.
So because I dropped the link in here for everybody to look at this flight stuff. But what you're saying is this 118 pages that I just put in the chat for everybody to read themselves. This is just from one pilot. And on top of that, these are just people that were on the plane. This doesn't necessarily mean that they're abusing kids. These are just people that rode on the plane from one pilot. And you're saying he had 12. So we literally have 12x this amount of paperwork, you would say.
Well, he has 3 airplane pilots. He's got a helicopter pilot, and then Glenn flew things herself. And there's all the people that just came by automobile. I mean, that's overwhelmingly the majority of the people. And so, yeah, and sometimes they brought the girl to them, not the other way around.
It's like a service. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this.
They never, because some of these people are like, no, I'm not coming to your house. I'm not going to a hotel that you choose either. You're going to bring her to me, and then I will take her somewhere.
Because Pam Bondi did say that she was going to release like flight manifest. Do you anticipate that she's going to release something similar to this? And why is she starting
that's
with
what
this?
I think. I think she's going. I mean, I hope.
Why is she doing the flight logs? Now that you've exposed.
From what she said, you're not going to get any recordings. You're not going to get any sex tapes. You're not going to get any audio sex tape, any of that stuff. You're going to get flight logs. And you're going to get some names of people who've already been sued. That kind of stuff. I think it will all be information we already have. That's what I think.
Okay.
I hope, of course, I hope it's new information. But from what she was saying, when Jesse like, are we going to get the tapes? 100% you're not going to get these sex tapes.
Okay. So we're just going to get.
These are billionaires. You don't mess with that.
Okay.
That's your whole donor base.
Okay. So, all right, now this makes sense. So you think the most we're going to get in your, experience dealing with this, talking to all these people, going through this for 17 years, you think at most we're going to get flight logs like this that are ambiguous at best, some documents here and there, some names here and there, but nothing that actually explicitly
they could name
ties.
the dead people, maybe that. But I think that's what it's going to be, and I hope it's more than that. But what I hope happens is the public's like, you release these flight logs, but those have been online. Oh, you released some information from the Little Black Book, but that's been online too. Give us something new that the government got when they raided his properties that we don't have. Give us that. And I hope if they hold their feet to the fire, that they're then forced to think about, okay, what else can we release, and still have some damage control and have to throw a few people under the bus.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, because I asked Corey, he was the same exact thing. I said, hey, Corey, what do you got, researchers like you and Ryan, what do you guys need to figure out the JFK thing? And Corey Hughes told me he needs the Office of Naval Intelligence file on Oswald's mom. He said that's the missing piece, right? And obviously, right, for the people here that are watching this right now, we're like at an advanced level research, right? Like,
let me tell you this, because Corey worked for me.
Yeah.
But I asked him, I said, do you want me to tell you the answer, or do you want the puzzle? And he's like, I want the puzzle. I said, okay. I was like, you don't get to switch your answer now. So for like 10 years, he studied.
He figured them all out, though.
He's Skyping me almost. He's Skyping me. What about this? Oh, I got it. And then I'd say like 2 sentences. He's like, fuck, I don't got it. I'm going to go learn that. Then he'd come back and he's like, you know what? That was the greatest puzzle ever. I'm glad he didn't tell me.
Yeah.
I mean, I gave him some big hints, but like he enjoys research.
Yeah.
That's good. I have the ONI report. I was fortunate enough to talk to Oswald's handler's son, so that made it easy. I also talked to the owner of all of Yamaha in Texas. He sold it on New Year's Eve. It was my girlfriend's granddad, and got him in the kitchen, little beer, and I was like, "Oh, you sold LBJ his speedboat. Used to go out in the Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico." And what did he talk about? He ever talk about the Kennedys? Got him going, man. A lot of neat stuff from that you can't get in the files. But JFK is I don't expect they're going to really release anything there either. 99% of the files have already been released because that's based on the files that were given to the review board in 1992, and they didn't give them all the files. And it's not, they can't do it. They will never turn on Israel. RFK, same thing. Like, everyone knows who shot them, but I would stress to people, like, I can tell you who killed either Kennedy, but it won't matter because you won't know who that is and you don't know why they did it. Why they did it is more important than these expendable schmucks that pull the trigger. It's the force behind that. Why were the Kennedys killed? And both of them were killed because of their policy against Israel, against the Mona, against AIPAC, Robert supporting right of return. The whole world would be different had they lived.
Real quick, Ryan. So just to go back to the original thing here. So I asked Corey, hey, what do you need to solve this case? And he told me I need the Office of Naval Intelligence file on Oswald's mom. So I'm going to ask you the same thing about this situation when it comes to Epstein. We know that they're going to give us a bunch of bullshit. What do the American people need to finally figure out what the hell is going on here? What do we really need? And what should we tell? Most importantly, and I want everyone watching right now, all of you guys are on Twitter, all you guys are the people. What should we be telling Attorney General Pam Bondi to give us to break this thing wide open? No more bullshit, no more flight logs that don't matter. What do we need?
Hire Ryan Dawson and give him subpoena power.
Okay.
But no, like what I'd really love is for them to dig into, they should audit Wexner and they should figure out all the little financial networks, or the backbone of how they pay for these things. Kind of like killing USAID.
Mm-hmm.
If you get rid of the money, the whole monster collapses.
Okay, so you would say start with Lex Wexner and start following the money from him.
You need to give him a serious audit because Wexner is the one that hired Mike Jeffries too, the little gay rapist from Abercrombie and Fitch. And he got popped recently, but that job straight out of Les Wexner. Got that file right here with Matthew Smith and James Jacobson. All three of them were raping boys and forcing teenagers to get enemas. Forced enemas. Sick, man.
Shit.
It all goes back to Wexner.
Yep. I got him up on screen
all
right
these
now.
People, the Bronfmans too, because Robert Miller bought his house from a Bronfman. The Nexiums go to Bronfman. Epstein goes to Bronfman. And you know who else is weird? Prince Andrew, because he knew Nygaard and Epstein. He's like the Kevin Bacon of pedophile rings.
Okay. So I'll say this. So it seems to me like step one is we got to look at Wexner and look at where the money went from him, and then we'll find all the other pieces. But Ryan, I know you got to go, man.
Yeah, if there was an equivalent of like the Oni file, or I would say Johnny Roselli's testimony, the one he got chopped up and putting drums over, that'd be another big one to get. You don't always get perfect analogies, whether there's some equivalent file that would be as important as that is the JFK to Epstein. But if there was such a thing, it would be, why don't you just show the tapes you found in New York?
Gotcha.
Because it's going to have perps on it. That'd be easy.
Yeah.
Another easy one is when Acosta said, I was told to back off. This is intelligence. And they should have subpoenaed Acosta and said, who told you that? Then you subpoena that person and say, which intelligence? Done. It's that easy. They don't want to solve this because they know it's the Israelis. And then,
but that's not going to happen.
You got to go after the big fit. No, it isn't. And then you got to go after Wexner, which they won't because he's a Jewish billionaire and tied to all the networks that own everything. So,
last question for you, Ryan, before you leave: who killed Epstein? Who killed him?
Nah, you should ask that in the beginning. You can't ask that right before I'm going to leave.
Nah, you could quickly summarize who killed him. Just to end it off.
If you wanted to kill Epstein with an expendable, you'd have to be somebody that had enough clout in the New York area to be able to know organized crime in New York that could get into the prison and do the deed. And who do we know who was a senator for New York, whose husband was tied to Epstein intimately, and the random page we showed, he's looking for Nick Tartaglione, but I like giving the why. If people just want to know who the shooters are and who their names are, like, okay, yeah, you have a name, now what? Nothing. Like, it doesn't matter. The Expendables don't really matter. They made him an alibi and everything too. Like, oh no, but he had just choked him out before, and Epstein said that himself. It's just, these things aren't hard. It's just that the plebs need the authority on TV to tell them the answer, or it doesn't register. And that's, that's the most powerful part of the brainwashing, is you can't accept an answer until you hear it from the face you're used to. Would had his name on it. Who do we know that would want to get rid of him more than anybody?
Hillary
That's
fucking
why I
Clinton.
said he got fucking Clinton. Exactly.
Hillary fucking Clinton. All right, with that, we'll end the stream.
Contract killing. That's what that was.
Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was last minute. You threw out so much information. I'm going to have to react to this because you were just spitting out so much stuff, and I don't know if the audience was able to keep up with all of it. But thank you so much for coming on, man. You're an encyclopedia. Guys, go check him out. Ryan Dawson on Rumble. Check him out on Twitter. Riot Liberty. Please go follow him. This is the expert when it comes to 9/11.
Antineocon.com. That's where you get. Oh, I got to show this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Fuck Israel. Nice.
That flag behind me is there too. Guys, you got to get gear because I don't have a PayPal. I don't have a Patreon. I'm not monetized on shit. So selling stuff and joining my Substack is the only way I get to do this kind of research. The only way I get to do these films. I'm redoing my 9/11 Iraq film right now. It's so much better. Like, I did a film, Empire Unmasked. It's very good information. Not the best movie because
you said it's
this movie maker by myself. But if you saw Numek and you saw that quality, like, wow, I wish we had 9/11 movie like that. Well, so do I. That's what we're working on right now. So that's kind of where I got to go. But that's cool that he put the store up. About the only thing when he was talking trash said is true is calling me a brokey. That part's true. Well, not broke. I'm still in the top 1%, but with the number of kids I have and expenses I have and employees I have, that doesn't go very far. T-shirts and stuff makes a difference, man, because that's it.
Guys, I'm dropping your links right now, guys. Go support Ryan. He's literally working on a new 9/11 documentary, kind of similar to Numex, so go support him, man. It's going to be out soon. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I'm dropping your link in here so people can go support you.
Well,
and
it drops a hammer on Israel, I'll tell you that. Saudis too. It's going to be my magnus opus, and then I'm going to be doing a film on Robert Kennedy.
Yep, and we're going to do an interview on him. Guys, next week, we're probably going to do RFK. Me and Ryan are going to get together and go over what happened on that day back in June. Next week, or this week, actually, I'm going to be covering the Johnny Somali trial because I hate that little fuck. And it's in Seoul, so not that far away. I'm going to go there. I don't know how many days that trial is going to take. It might be done in one, might be two. I have no idea. He did so many different crimes, but I'm covering that. I've had requests to go do that. Like, people actually pay for it. So obviously I'm going to jump on that. RFK can wait. He'll still be dead next week, then the week after. So it's no rush, but I did interview Jake Shields about it already, but he hasn't put it out yet. He said 2 weeks, and that was like 3 days ago. So I could just solo that when I have time to. So depends on the trial, the Johnny Somali thing. Yeah, well, we could do it later on too. Maybe next week or the week after, but
he's still going to be dead. It'll still be a pressing issue. They're not going to release any files.
Gotcha. All right, guys.
I did one with Tim Kelly 9 years ago. I did one with Jake Shields, but it won't be out for a couple weeks. So
okay,
whatever, we'll get it in.
All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on, bro. Take it easy. I'll let you go now because I know you got to get to sleep. It's late over there. Yeah. Later, Ryan.
I got to get to work, unfortunately.
All right, brother. Take it easy. All right, chat. Give me 1 second, chat. I got to take a crazy piss. Give me 1 sec.
Oh, that makes sense. He had to pee the whole time. He could have just said, hey, man, I need to pee. I can keep monologuing, no problem, whatever. Oh, okay, just sent in a 20. Thank you, dude. And says, thank you for your service, Ryan. Fuck Israel and fuck Lincoln. And I'm sorry if there was any shekel chats in the beginning. The way Rumble is, if you're not hovering over it, it disappears after a certain amount of time. But I think there was one from Dr. Eek earlier. It said like Ryan is the GOAT or something. Yeah, I'm not seeing it though. But yeah, Johnny's not in a Korean jail. Johnny's staying with Hank. He's gonna be in jail soon, and his trial is on the 7th. So, and Myron's out of town from the 28th to something. I don't know, whatever. But I'm definitely going to that trial. I didn't like that. My friend knocked him out and his cameraman out in Japan. As soon as they went to Osaka, they got knocked out and arrested. It's like, this isn't Tokyo. You don't have foreign privilege here. People in Osaka don't like foreigners. And I am a xenophobic gaijin myself. Then he went to, he did this all over the place, but he eventually landed in Korea, fucked around, found out. He got hit and knocked down in Korea. Didn't get knocked out, but he was stumbling. And he went to police for protection because people were hunting him down after he was dry humping a statue of a child for the comfort women. He called a false like bomb scare on a train. He went into a convenience store and made a bowl of ramen and just started throwing it at people and screaming at the top of his lungs. That's assault, by the way, if you throw food at somebody. Just being a nigger. And I use that word not to mean a biological class or black people. I'm using that the way you'd use the word redneck or something as a descriptor. He's a nigger. Like, that is what that word means. It's his face. And he needs to go to jail forever. So I'll be going to Seoul to deal with that. Someone said rest in Peach Coast Redfield. Yeah, R.I.P. Gonzalo Lira. With a phone call, they could have fixed that. Same with the Tate brothers. One phone call could have fixed that. They had to beat that on their own. I hope that Trump will actually look into their case because he got wrap-up smeared too. They falsely accused him of rape and everything else under the sun. Seems like Comey had a little side investigation. They were attempting to honey trap him. Yeah. All right. Well, kids are out of school, so that's it for today. They're not going to release any Epstein files that we don't have. I promise you, they're not. He just gave $3 billion to Israel yesterday on emergency funding. Didn't even go through Congress. If only he would treat Netanyahu the way he treated Zelensky. That's how you're supposed to handle the little Zionist rats. You cut them off from their allowance, and they will wither on the vine. Ricky Manor, yeah, we can do a show, man. Hit me up on Telegram. Okay. All right, I'm going over to Telegram right now. I believe that's ANC report or t.ancreport.me or something like that. Somebody in chat has it. When I say chat, I'm talking about the Rumble chat. I don't pay attention to Twitter chat because, frankly, it's usually retarded. So Rumble's is level up from that. So that's where you can put links and things. I only follow Rumble chat. That's the only one you can shekel chat on. So why would I bother with Twitter chat? Yeah. So go over to Rumble. Always watch these on Rumble. You can share. It's on Twitter because it's shareable and it's easy and there's more eyeballs over there. But I'd like to build up Rumble too, just because it's independent media. Whereas Twitter or X, whatever, they still shadow ban, they outright ban, they decheck mark, they're playing games. Rumble's a little better than that. All right, then. I'm going over to Telegram right now. Peace. Oh, wait, we'll do a commercial. Maybe this one.
Did you just Israel my juice? Did you just Israel my chair?
God gave it to me.
What?
God said I could have it.
God said he could have it. That's my juice. I give that back. That's my juice.
God said it was mine.
Give me my juice.